Hi, I'm Will Smith. We're live coming to you from Victoria, BC, and I have with me today Jennifer Sagar, and she and I are going to be talking about some of the great things that we see in the world that give us hope, and hopefully we can give you some of that excitement about what's going on. So thanks for tuning in, and yeah, and that's our little... So, sorry about that. I'm having to do the switching myself today, so there are going to be maybe a few hiccups if I don't remember what to do. But anyway, I'd just like to start off the show by saying that Jennifer and I last night just synchronistically tuned into the same video. Do you remember that person's name?
Allison Coe.
Allison Coe, right?
Yeah.
And she is a practitioner of quantum hypnosis healing technique, which is something that Dolores Cannon developed, if you're familiar with that name. But Dolores Cannon was a hypnotist who started off helping people to stop smoking, but eventually she started getting into sort of the more woo-woo parts of it. She was accessing different levels of consciousness, and she was able to access not only the person's higher self, but also sort of a group consciousness for humanity. So these things are sort of interesting to people like us who feel very much that there's something going on here that's not really talked about a whole lot. So with that, just as an introduction, here's Jennifer. And what was your favorite part of that video?
That particular video, I've watched a number of those just in the last couple of months maybe, because I just kind of found this woman, Allison, who I love her energy. Yes. And she's so lifting. And but the favorite part for me happened to be when she mentioned the talking about spirit plant medicines. Right. Which is something that's, people are starting to kind of talk about a lot more. There's actually an annual little get-together in Vancouver every year for the weekend in October that is like people come from all over, and they spend the whole weekend and they just talk about spirit plant medicines, and that's very, very interesting. But anyway, so and that happened to come up during this particular session that she did with a client, and I'd never heard that mentioned before. It's not something that, unless you're actually looking for that kind of information, you don't tend to hear about it. And so I'm finding there's a cross-streaming that's happening with these different kinds of methods and modes of sort of, let's say, consciousness expansion, right? That's pretty exciting too. It's all kind of starting to meld and connect.
So what does that mean, the plant medicines? Just because we have kind of a wide viewership here, and some people might not be too familiar with that. Right. Well, that's the term that that encompasses a lot of different what we call medicines or drugs. In some terms they're a drug. I mean, just like tobacco's a drug, right? These are all actual drugs, or they change the chemical processes in your brain, like taking a drink of alcohol. But some of them have really psychoactive or hallucinogenic properties, and some of them have different properties that do things like expand your heart, which sounds like a woo kind of thing, but they literally expand your sense of your heart, or your heart energy, and your sense of how you're putting that out and what you feel Right.
And which is a really interesting experience. So that would encompass things like, I suppose, what people used to do, called they used to drop acid, but now it seems it's much more controlled, it's much more reverent in the way people are approaching it. And that's why it's called a medicine, because people are approaching it like a medicine.
Well, we've learned about these from shamanic cultures too, like I've read some and listened to talks by Terence McKenna, and also the books, what are those called? The Carlos Castaneda
yes.
books.
Yes.
So those were famous for the mushroom, psilocybin mushrooms.
Exactly.
But the ayahuasca is something that is more. It's something that's more kind of newer thing that we.
It's a relatively new one that people have just been like. I actually heard about it. Must be almost 8-10 years ago. Which I didn't know anybody else was hearing about, and it was interesting how it came to this local area from Peru. There were some shamans who had been brought in to start doing some of these journeys, and my understanding is that the medicine itself, which in terms of ayahuasca, which is from a couple of plants that they make a tea with and they brew, and that's a whole interesting story about how did they figure that out? How do they figure out exactly what to put together to make something that's going to be that psychoactive, and anyway, this is an ancient medicine, and the medicine itself, which they call mama ayahuasca, because it's an actual spirit that people sense when you ingest it. You feel like you're connected to the spirit of the medicine, and the spirit wants to expand. It wants to go out in the world beyond the boundaries of some particular South American country or even South America, and extend itself and help heal the world, which was similar to what on that clip what she mentions about how spirit plant medicines are going to be even more important in the near future to help people just kind of expand their consciousness and heal and grow.
Well, without further ado, why don't we watch that clip then, so everybody knows what we're talking about. So here goes the clip.
Okay, so do you want to explain any more about the ayahuasca journey she's been on? And her medicine journey has been called for because that is a big part of her mission. And by her doing these plant medicines, it has rapidly increased her vibration and helped her to develop that trust and that faith. And she's needed to she's needed those to get her this far, to stay on the planet, because she has had choices of coming back here or physically leaving. So the medicines are a tool, and the medicines are going to be a tool of change for people in the future. They will heal people. There's no denying that she needs to follow the medicine. And she says that's her path, and it also heals her without her even knowing it. As she follows that path, she'll help others heal by it. She will be saving lives by doing this stuff. She can't comprehend how big this purpose is. It's not about her and what she does. It's about the people that follow her. She needs to share the information and know the medicine. And I said, do you have any final messages for her today? Because we were at the end of our session. Trust, surrender, give gratitude, all is well. It's the mind that creates chaos. Trust and surrender.
People were a little confused that what she's doing, she is a quantum QHHT therapist, which is quantum hypnosis healing technique. And she is talking about a session she did with someone and what the higher mind of the client started to tell the client about using these spirit plant medicines. So obviously the client had been using some and had been doing some and was wondering perhaps if that was a good road to take for themselves or something. So she's getting confirmation from her own higher self that yes, that's a good thing to be doing. Right, right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and there's so many, yeah, as you say, there's so many of those different interpretations or so many of those different ways that your higher self might be speaking to you. And I like your point about how the negative stuff is, what did you say, was inside us, or, you know, and that is such a good point, because we have that shadow side. We all have that shadow side, and I believe that we are actually reflecting the reality outside from inside, and that it all actually is an internal kind of an inside job, as you kind of. And so what you're seeing when you're seeing something negative, you kind of have to say, okay, well, what's in me that's reflecting on, especially if it's triggering you. If it's triggering you, then you know that you've got something going on that you can go back inside. So we're kind of prone, we certainly have been prone to looking outside and trying to fight the demons outside. Mm-hmm. And I can see, you know, of course that's tempting, right? It's tempting to say it's those guys, it's out there, it's that, you know, and but that hasn't really worked very well. Like it's not getting us very far. We have to start to own up to that shadow side inside of ourselves and take that power and stop being a victim to those external sources, which are not external, right? And so when we start to believe that we have that power, which even goes beyond the idea of people power and all that stuff, which is amazing, which getting people together in communities, totally perfect, totally, that's where I think we're headed. We've got so many grassroots things happening where people are standing up and saying, okay, I'm gonna, this is not okay anymore, right?
Right.
But I'm just saying, even I would say that that power that we have within ourselves is even more immense than we have any idea. Yeah. Or as you say, I like the word integrate.
Yeah.
Because I think that if there's really something there that you need to look at, it's not going to go away, but you need to sort of face it to some degree and maybe integrate it somehow into your whole, and accept what who you are in a completeness, right?
Yes, in wholeness. Yes.
In wholeness, we want to run away from those parts we don't like, right? Yeah. So. But that's where we're at. It's just learning that all of these things. It's amazing. It's a fascinating time, and I think that when you do some of these things, even meditation, whatever, it just gives you that perspective, that maybe observer perspective, to kind of look at things from that distance, that helps you to kind of like calm down about stuff and say, okay, in the bigger picture, this is really, it's all okay. It's really all okay. It's a process. We're going through a process, right? We're going through a huge process right now, like a major transformation. I don't know if people, if many people really grasp the extent of the transformation that is happening and is going to happen. But to me, it's like it's the most exciting time in eons to be around. Yeah, I've heard a lot about those kinds of external things too, and my sense is that some of those things might happen. Like who knows? Some aliens might either come and make their presence known, or those that are already here, which I believe there are, would maybe sort of step up and say, we're here. But I think that the idea is that as Earthlings, as people here, that we need to get to that point on our own or with help, but not because of something that's come in and kind of done it for us. We have to reach those levels of consciousness on our own. But that's so true that it really doesn't take a lot. And I think that's also something that people tend to forget. We tend to think of things as like, that balance or that 50%, right? If you're, many votes or anything you think is like, okay, if it's over 50%, then that's the tipping point. Well, no, not in this type of thing. As you say, it's really, small. Really much smaller than that. Thank God.
Right.
Yes, and that, it seems to me, is like one of the most interesting points that I'd like to kind of get out today, I guess, is that the idea of just people kind of expanding that idea of, okay, change is happening, change is coming. So just kind of trying to allow that to happen and not get rigid and resistant around that. Because we're in it, right? And it's the only constant. Change is the only constant, and the more you resist, the more it persists, right? So that if you're uncomfortable, if you're feeling like really shaken up, well, you got to try to kind of relax about that and allow things to just sort of allow that in whatever way you can. We've talked about a number of ways to expand that sort of sense of your own consciousness, but to just allow things to be a little more fluid and a little more outside the box, for sure. Like, like really try to just say, okay, what I know, what I believe right now is probably not, not necessarily all true. So start from that and try to open up that sense of, okay, all right, and be open. Exactly, we all have our own truth, right? And I always appreciate the people that I listen to who say, does this resonate with you? Don't just believe everything anything anybody says, right? And so you've got to kind of use your discernment. You've got to listen to people and go, okay, well, that's kind of interesting, and that's similar to what somebody else said. So, I think that could, I'm going to, there's some validity there. So just keep that open mind and also use your discernment, because there's people out there that are saying all kinds of, like, pretty wacky stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so, you have that capability of just saying, of choosing, again, what are you going to allow? I don't even want to use the word believe, because that can kind of get somewhat rigid and crystallized. Once we've got a belief, we tend to hold on to it and not want to let it go. So try to just open your idea of, in a more fluid sense of what's possible, I guess.
Yeah. Another one of the things that Allison talked about that I really liked that fits in with this is, and I'll show this little clip, is that one of the best ways we can integrate what we've learned is by self-expression, and she's talking about being an artist. I like this little clip so much. She's so cute, and I like this little clip so much that I put it on my timeline. But anyway, she's encouraging us about being an artist, so I just play that now.
I said, does she need to do anything on her end to make sure that she strengthens that connection to them and receives their messages? And they say, yes. Yes, through her drawing, they will show her what to draw, and she will get messages through those drawings. And she's an artist, and so that is how they're going to give her messages, is through her drawings. Now, a month or so before this session, I actually had another session with a beautiful acupuncturist here in Portland, and they're going to start giving you art to draw, messages through your art. Same stuff. A month later, I never published any of that. So all you artists out there, start drawing. All right.
Yeah, so that was really encouraging, and once again, she talks about how, in this case, it's not just that you're receiving images, but that you want to draw them. And I know that for me, it's music.
Yes.
And for my wife, it's art. And sometimes she'll draw something, and then we'll sit there and look at it and talk about it for a while, just looking at what's come out. What do you see in this? What do you see in this? And what's this saying? And that's pretty. I mean, it's really cool to be able to do that. And she never drew before, I guess, about 2010. I mean, she was not encouraged to draw as a child. In fact, she was told not to express herself, because I understand. I mean, it's the same type of Puritan thing where that isn't useful. That's not going to make any money. So use your talent to do something else. And whereas right now, it doesn't matter that it doesn't make any money, because it's serving another purpose, which really it's what it's supposed to do in the first place. But we sort of make everything in our culture revolve around money. So
Yeah.
We got to get away from that.
Definitely, definitely. And we all have at least one way, if not more, ways of expressing ourselves in some artistic, creative form, whatever that is. So, yeah, so we should all be encouraged to do more of that and feel and express ourselves. I like, I don't know if you've heard of Bashar. Bashar.
Bashar, I've heard it. But
He's an entity that's being channeled through a guy named Daryl, and it's been going on for 10, 20, 30 years, and it's amazing stuff. Anyway, what made me think of that was something about, sorry, we were just saying, what was it?
About,
I lost it.
Well, about talking about how the
creativity
comes through in different areas.
Yes, and what this Bashar says, amongst other things, is that you know what, following your bliss, following what makes you feel good, passionate, alive, is what you should be doing.
Yes.
Right? And let's get over this idea of like that's a waste of time, or that's, you know, I should be doing something else. Right? Mm-hmm. No. And we really, it's hard for some people, right? Because we've been so programmed, right?
Yes.
And how simple is that? Follow your bliss.
I think Joseph Campbell makes a big point about that, about following your bliss. And of course, if you watch, in fact, I want to spend some time, there's some really pithy things that man says that there are videos of, and I'd like to just pop one of those up there to start a conversation, because he's brilliant. And
definitely.
You know, that's one of the things that I want to point out also, is that getting what you see out to other people is very helpful to them sometimes. I mean, there's so many, when I was watching Allison, the one other clip that I want to put up at some point, I was thinking of these different scenes from movies. So a lot of these things that are coming through, well, she was talking about what our new consciousness is going to be like. A lot of those imagery, the pictures, the abilities, everything is coming through in movies.
Yes.
And so I like to watch movies now. Sometimes I just turn off the sound because it's sort of irrelevant. The thing that's more interesting is just the pictures that are being shown.
Makes me think of Avatar. Like
like Avatar.
Like apparently, that's a really good. And they're making a second one, I guess. They're making a sequel.
Oh, are they?
But anyway, that life on that other planet where they go, and it's just beautiful, it's just amazing.
And that's James Cameron,
That's
right?
James Cameron.
His movies are. He did Titanic, right?
Yes.
So that movie, I mean, I think of Titanic all the time in regards to our civilization, because there's some people that aren't aware that we've hit an iceberg, and they're still worried about all the.
They're still dancing in the ballroom.
Exactly.
Listening to the music and
and
drinking champagne.
So that has a lot of good metaphors or pictures for us of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. I've been watching Sense8.
Oh yeah.
Which is really amazing, and I'm seeing some more. This is the second time, and it takes because it's pretty deep.
It is.
And I'm finding that kind of the analogy of the present day sort of society, and this whole concept of these people that are connected at a very deep level, and of course we all are connected, right? But the idea is more like the people that are connected and kind of are more conscious of it, and the people who don't even realize that they're connected and are still trying to act like they're separate entities that can just randomly kill off all the other people without any consequences, right?
Yes.
And just think that or rape the planet without real true consequences to themselves. They're just so separated. They're just so
That we've watched. We haven't been able to watch the later season because of the violence. Just makes us cringe sometimes.
Well, that's true too.
But we do like the. And I read about. I was so curious because of some of the premises that I read as much as I could about who, what the whole
made it?
The Wachowski did the show. So they're the ones who did The Matrix, and they did Cloud Atlas, which is Cloud. Have you seen that one?
No.
Cloud Atlas is a very interesting movie. It's a big budget. I think it was $100 million movie that was done in Europe. I don't think it was done, and it was released. I don't even know if it made it in the United States, but it goes over several lifetimes of people, and they're reincarnated, and so they see their life. You get to see their lives when they were, say, a slave, and then you get to see them when they were something else, and it's a movie that you have to watch a couple of times. You can't possibly catch it all. But anyway, the Wachowskis, one of the things that they do that I thought was very interesting, and the reason that they did Sensate, one of the things that they did was they will watch movies with friends who aren't physically located in the same place. They might be in a different, even in a different part of the world, and it may be inconvenient for them to watch the movie at the same time, but they do it anyway, and then they talk about it. And I find that to be a very interesting thing, because what they're saying is we're all waking up to this. We're all waking up to these possibilities and ways of being that are outside our normal realm. And in a way, I think that a lot of our reality, if you look at it, I mean, how many people really think about how much our consciousness has changed simply because of the telephone and Facebook and all these different things? I mean, I know for me, the internet is it's like I'm a little kid again, because I'm excited about all the things that I can find out about, and I can have friends all over the world. So to me, maybe Facebook is kind of like a training ground for telepathy and connection to other people. I don't have a negativity about Facebook. I kind of like Facebook.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think it's a tool, right? It's like, how are you using it? If you're not enjoying it, well, fine, then don't use it. But then if you think it's all negative, then I don't know who your friends are, like you're seeing all the stuff that you don't like, then who's posting that, right? I just see all kinds of amazing stuff, and that's what I like to post and I like to put out there, and it kind of gives me a lot of joy. I find it very entertaining and inspiring, and thought-provoking, and that and YouTube, those things there's so much out there that's so amazing, right? And that's up to us how we're using it, right?
That's so true. Yeah, it's up to us, and I think that some people look. I know I have friends that are just so worried about the way things are, but I think if you take that consciousness is primary, that everything else is a function of consciousness, and at least you can't maybe know that with a felt sense, but at least you can get the idea that since our quantum physics is showing that that's true, that maybe that does have there is something to that, right. And so it's important to monitor what we're looking at, what we're thinking about, and where is it that we're actually going? I mean, are we going to a further dystopian place, or are we actually going to a beautiful new world? And I think that there's a lot of fiction about that. There's post-apocalyptic fiction. There are things like, I like to think of some of the more beautiful children's stories, like the Chronicles of Narnia, or the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, with all the beautiful things in there that we're headed back to that. And that's the last clip I want to play from Allison's, is she's also gotten a lot of imagery from people, from their deeper self. And so what does that new world look like? And she describes things that frankly sound a lot like Narnia to me. So I think we'll play that one too. This is from the same interview.
When she fully embodies herself and these colors start working on her, she'll be in another world all the time. And she says it's so beautiful. She goes there sometimes in her meditations, and she sees it like a green meadow, and the colors all around her are so vibrant and beautiful. And she says, that's where I live. It's just always complete joy. There's never any more going back and forth, never any more of her vibration going up and down. And she says it stays high now. I'm hearing my vibration will just stay constant. does that mean that she won't ever get to experience that beautiful existence that was shown to her earlier, the meadow and all of the beautiful colors, the telepathy and joy? And she says, yeah, she will die and she will leave the earth. And so she'll transition before she ever gets to that place. Okay, so then I'm taking her, I asked, can we explore that place a little bit more just so we can get the feelings of that place? And it says, yeah, it's like, and it shows her, it's like a magical place. It's somewhere that that she wants to go to and live, like on Earth, but she's somewhere else. It's so beautiful. Or that's how she explained. She's like, it's like you're living like on Earth, but it's completely different, somewhere else. And we could just imagine that it's just another level on this Earth. If you really need to hook into a location, then we would look at it like that, another dimension on Earth that you currently can't experience yet if you're only living in the 3D. See if that works for you. All right, so most of you don't need that, you get it. But it is kind of a hard thing to grasp. All right, so she's trying to explain it here. Let's see, but you're somewhere else. It's just so beautiful. It's not like you talk. It's like you just absorb things. And it's just love. Everyone just loves each other. And it's not like here. There's no money. It's just joy, just pure joy. And everyone is like that all the time. And we just do things that we want to do that bring us joy because there's nothing else anyway. And I asked her, what does she appear like? She says she appears like a more childlike and blonde and cute. And she plays a lot in a meadow. And there are animals everywhere and they talk. The animals talk when we talk to them. And my day is all about play. And she says, I don't think we sleep. And she says we don't really have to eat. I don't see that. I just see pure joy. And she spends her day with her love, her love that she's currently with. And she says she feels that same joy that exists in this place. She feels that every time she's with him currently. And I say, okay, so these colors, they said that this is a place where a lot of people are going. Can you tell us how they can get there? What would that transition look like for her and for others? So then she hears the colors tell her. The first thing I heard was that they have to do the work just like she is. And that's how I get there. Just by having faith and just stepping forward 1 foot at a time in this process, trusting the process, because really she's safe and supported whatever happens. So for other people, there are people who aren't going to go there because they choose to live in fear instead of love.
That sounds great. Yeah, so one of the things another movie that pops into my mind when I hear her talking about that is The Last Mimsy. Have you seen that movie?
No.
Well, it starts off with a scene in a meadow, and this woman is taking care of children, and it's a beautiful scene in like in Switzerland or something, mountains and flowers, and then she starts communicating with them telepathically, and then the movie opens up and it comes to our present day, and then at the very end of the movie it's the same thing. It goes back to this beautiful meadow with these children, and I think they fly away or something. But anyway, that's a really good picture of the same thing, and we have all these images coming in now from movies and stories.
Yep.
And I think that once you get onto this, once you start experiencing these things, then everything you start noticing more and more that the world isn't the way consensus reality wants you to think it is. That there are all the universe gives you these synchronicities that I think of it as kind of like Goddess has a sense of humor. Because, right. It's between you and the universe or something like that. And a good example of it is just the fact that you and I both happened to watch a video that was put up yesterday.
Yeah.
Without even consulting each other.
Yeah. Right, yeah. You hadn't mentioned her, I didn't.
And but it was right on topic with what we were chatting about to do this show on. So these things are the reason that you know, perhaps some people who are watching this are very afraid of what's going on, or have a kind of a bleak view. And for me, that's just, I probably used to have that bleak a view. I could see only bad things happening, and my life experience didn't give me anything very cheery to look at. It seemed like every time I made some progress, something else would come up.
But that's the catch-22 in a sense of yeah, you know, if you've got that cynical point of view, then that's what you're going to get back, right? And so it keeps you in that loop, and you keep getting you know, confirmation of what you believe. Exactly. Right? You know, so, and that's what people don't quite get. You know, but they and so of course they believe it. Because like, hey, look, see, it's right there. Like, I'm just getting shown this all the time. But we have to kind of get beyond that and realize, like, what are you putting out there? What, you know, and that's what you're getting back, literally. Right.
And I've been thinking about how to explain this, and I think sometimes you go into a store and there's a huge wall of TV sets.
Right.
And so as a child, I was trained to look for certain bad things because my parents were political activists, and so I was just kind of trained to look for certain things. And so when I would see the world, I would see this wall of TV sets, I would find the one where those bad things were happening and focus on that, and not look at everything else. Now I'm much more open, I'm much more cognizant of, that's what I was trained to see. I was trained to see those bad things, but what I want to see is the good things. And it's a little bit difficult because it might, when you first start, it might go against some of that training, and some people probably need a bigger push than others as far as how you get there. For me, I started meditating, and during the course of meditation, one of the things that happened was I found myself outside of my body. So at that point, that's a line that you, once you've had that experience, that you know that you're not your body, that you see your body there, but you know that your consciousness is not in your body. Totally. Then you can't go back. There's no way that you can lie to yourself enough. And that experience is very common among meditators, people who have been on ayahuasca trips, ET abductions, or near-death experiences. They're different, but they're the same thing.
Yeah, I've had that experience myself, and I know exactly what you mean. I mean, it's you know, you can't, it's hard to describe because, you know, it's something outside of our domain of knowingness, or of being able to explain with our words, you know.
We don't have words, we don't have vocabulary for it.
We don't have vocabulary, but you know that it's happened and it changes you, that's for sure. You know, you what you may have tried. For me, what happened was I'd had those beliefs that this was possible, but until it actually happened, experiential sort of, you know, thing, then, you know, it's like you don't really know. Right. You know, you might hope, but when it happens, it's like, oh my God, yeah, okay, like, you know. And you are changed. You are forever changed because you do realize that you're far more than this physical existence.
Right, and then of course, once you do that, once you have that experience, you have to integrate it, and it has to become part of your reality, so it isn't weird anymore. And so that's another reason we're talking about these things, is because, I mean, you can't go into work and say, gee, you know, I had a really interesting out-of-body experience last night. It just doesn't get you the brownie points. They're probably going to find a different position for you depending on what you do.
And again, hopefully that's starting to change. These things are all sort of coming out of the closet, coming out of the new age woo-woo closet.
Right.
To think of it, you know, and that's the next step, is trying to just more people speaking out about this stuff and talking about it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's about. I can't think of really anything else I want to explore with you today, but I really that was fun to talk about that. I really think it's an interesting conversation, and
it certainly was.
You're someone who certainly has a different take on it, and I appreciate your willingness to talk about it.
Thank you. I just want to say, fear is a trap. Fear is an illusion. So that's want people to try to get over that and not be trapped by that old third 3D, you know, sort of matrix, you know, mind trap. You know, let's get out of that.
So this is the end of another edition of In Victoria's Garden. Thank you for watching. I apologize if the sound cut out anywhere. It's hard for me to both direct switch and talk at the same time, so maybe next week we'll have another switcher in here. But again, thanks for watching. This is brought to you by Independent Community Television Victoria.